Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, lived a king with 3 sons. The 2 older sons were clever and sharp, always boasting of their skills. But the youngest son was quiet and thoughtful, so everyone, even his own family, called him Simpleton. As the king grew old and frail, he knew he had to choose his successor. He gathered his sons and announced a challenge. "My sons," he said, his voice echoing in the grand hall, "the one who brings me the finest carpet in the world shall inherit my kingdom." To make things fair, he took 3 feathers, walked to the balcony, and blew them into the wind. "Follow where your feather flies," he declared. "That will show you your path." 1 feather drifted to the east, another to the west. The 2 elder brothers, full of confidence, set off on their journeys, laughing at their younger brother. His feather, you see, had just fluttered a few feet away and landed softly on the ground, right near the palace. What a fool's errand for Simpleton! They jeered as they rode off. His feather went nowhere at all. Simpleton sat down by his feather, feeling a familiar sting of sadness. Was he truly destined for nothing? As he looked down, he noticed something strange in the grass's small, almost hidden trapdoor. Curiosity piqued. He lifted the heavy wooden flap and discovered a dark set of stairs leading deep into the earth. He descended cautiously, step by step, until he reached a door at the bottom. He knocked gently. A gruff voice croaked from within, "Maiden green and small hopping toad and green frog's prawl. What is it that you desire? Come now, quick, and state your fire." A little bewildered, Simpleton called out, "I am the king's son, and I seek the finest, most beautiful carpet in the world." The door creaked open, and what he saw inside made his eyes widen. There sat a massive fat toad, surrounded by a court of hundreds of smaller toads, all croaking and hopping about. The great toad looked at him and said, "You shall have what you wish." She turned to one of her little toad servants and commanded, "Bring me the great box." A little toad hopped away and returned, struggling to push a large ornate chest. Simpleton knelt and opened it. Inside, nestled on velvet, was a carpet so magnificent it took his breath away. It was woven from the finest silk and purest gold threads, shimmering with a light that seemed brighter than the sun itself. It was more beautiful than anything he had ever imagined. He thanked the Toad Queen profusely, took the carpet, and made his way back to the castle. A short time later, his brothers returned. They marched into the throne room, proudly carrying the carpets they had found. But their carpets, sourced from common shepherds' wives, were coarse and plain. When Simpleton unfurled his, the entire court gasped. The king stared in amazement. It was no contest. However, the elder brothers wouldn't accept defeat. They complained loudly, insisting it was just a fluke. The trial was unfair. They cried, "Simpleton must have stumbled upon it by sheer luck." The old king, wanting to keep the peace, sighed. "Very well," he announced. "We shall have another trial. "The one who brings me the most beautiful ring shall be king." He blew 2 more feathers, and again they flew east and west for the elder brothers. And once more, Simpleton's feather fluttered down in the very same spot near the trapdoor. Without a moment's hesitation, Simpleton went back down the stairs and knocked on the toad's door. "I need the most beautiful ring in the world," he explained. The big Toad Queen seemed to be expecting him. She again ordered her little servants to fetch a special box. This one was smaller, but just as ornate. Inside, resting on a satin pillow, was a ring that sparkled with 1,000 tiny lights. It was crafted from pure gold and set with a diamond so brilliant it could outshine the stars. The work was so fine and intricate, no human goldsmith could ever have made it. When the king saw this ring, he knew the contest was over. It was a masterpiece, far superior to the old, rusty nail rings his elder sons had managed to find by prying them from an old cartwheel. The kingdom should rightfully go to Simpleton, the king declared. But the 2 brothers were relentless. They pleaded and protested, their jealousy burning bright. "Father, this is not fair. We demand one final test," they insisted. Tired of their quarreling, the king gave in one last time. "Then this is the final challenge," he said, his voice firm. "Bring me the most beautiful woman in the world. Whoever succeeds will be my heir." He blew the feathers for a 3rd time. And for a 3rd time, Simpleton's path led him straight back to the trapdoor and the kingdom of the toads. He felt a little embarrassed asking for so much, but he explained his new quest to the Toad Queen. "I must find the most beautiful woman in the world." The big toad chuckled. "The most beautiful woman. She is not so easy to find. But you shall have her." She then gave him a hollowed-out yellow turnip with 6 tiny mice harnessed to it. Simpleton looked at the strange gift. "What am I to do with this?" he asked, trying not to laugh. It seemed like a joke. "Just choose one of my little toads," the queen instructed, "and place her inside the turnip." Simpleton, trusting the Toad Queen's magic, looked around at the crowd of little toads. He spotted one and gently picked her up, placing her inside the hollowed-out vegetable. The moment she was inside, a wondrous transformation began. The yellow turnip swelled and shimmered, turning into a magnificent golden coach. The 6 mice grew into 6 powerful white horses with gleaming harnesses, and the little toad herself transformed into the most breathtakingly beautiful maiden anyone had ever laid eyes on, with a grace and radiance that seemed almost divine. Simpleton, now dressed in a prince's finest attire, climbed into the coach beside her and they rode to the castle. Soon after, his brothers arrived, each dragging along the first farm girl they had encountered on the road. These girls were strong and sturdy, but by no means beautiful. When Simpleton arrived in his golden coach, with horses of pure white and a maiden who shone like the sun, the entire court fell silent in awe. There were no more arguments to be made. The king looked at his youngest son, no longer seeing a simpleton, But a young man blessed with humility, kindness, and incredible fortune, he announced his decision to the whole kingdom. The crown belongs to the youngest, for he has proven his worth. So Simpleton married the beautiful maiden and ruled the kingdom with wisdom and a gentle heart. He was loved by all his people. And the 3 feathers, which had once seemed to chart a path to failure, were placed in a glass case in the palace. A permanent reminder that sometimes the most unlikely path leads to the greatest destiny, and that true worth is found not in cleverness or pride, but in a kind and humble spirit. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the world of Grimm's fairy tales. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more classic tales. We'll see you in the next story.